In a strict boarding school, hidden inside a monastery in an isolated forest, only troubled students are accepted, expelled from other schools. The system is so punitive that the kids wear uniforms even to sleep, and infractions are punished with confinement in prison-like cells. Determined to escape, first students put a plan into action. Paul and Manuel stage a violent fight to draw attention, allowing their third partner, Amaya, to sneak into the headmistress's office to steal money from the safe. The stunt works. Headmistress Mara intervenes and orders Mario, the strict PE teacher, to lock the boys in solitary confinement. In isolation, the two celebrate the plan's initial success. During mandatory PE class, Mario punishes any student who hurts the group's performance. Meanwhile, a young girl named Alba arrives at the school. Living on the neighboring property, she comes and goes freely since her mother, Celia, works in the kitchen, and her uncle Luis is the guard. Thanks to the ban on leaving, she acts as a smuggler, bringing in cigarettes, alcohol, and other things in exchange for money. That same day, the new music teacher, Leon, is hired and agrees to the strict rules presented by Mara. During break time, Amaya retrieves cigarettes left by Alba in a bathroom hiding spot and distributes them to her friends, who take the opportunity to mock Ina Copyright S, a quiet student. Away from the students, after prayers, the monk Elias gets ready to teach languages, being the only religious figure to work directly at the institution. At the end of the day, Adele, Paul's younger sister and the fourth member of the escape group, make her move. Using the excuse of giving French lessons to Alba, she goes to Celia's house outside regular hours. While waiting, she asks to use the bathroom and takes the chance to steal a bottle of sedatives, a crucial item for the plan. When Alba arrives, Adele lies about getting the time wrong and leaves. Upon returning to the school, she is called to the headmistress's office. Terrified of being caught, she throws the bottle in a trash can. The summon, however, was just to take a call from her uncle, who's planning to get married in Paris. Adele lies to him, saying she and her brother are fine, hiding all the violence they face at the boarding school. When she goes out to get the bottle back, she finds out Amaya has already retrieved it, getting a harsh scolding from her partner for her nervousness, which almost ruined the mission. Meanwhile, the science and botany teacher, Elvira, shows Leon around. She finds it weird that anyone would choose to work there, revealing that the surrounding forest is full of terrifying legends. Elvira confesses she researches the region's ancient inhabitants, describing them as wise, but mysteriously warning that they also posed a great danger. The place's security is reinforced by a fierce dog at the gates, trained to attack runaways. At bedtime, the students rush to their beds before Mario's inspection. During his rounds, he catches the student Paz hiding and using a cell phone. The punishment is immediate. The girl's head is completely shaved, but the students can't even protest against the abuse. The next day, Elias finds out about the punishment and decides to intervene. Being the only teacher against the school's methods, he frees Paul and Manuel from solitary on his own. Later, he confronts Mara, arguing that the severity of the punishment should match the mistake. Mario steps in and tries to justify it, lying about the girl having lice, but the monk sees through the lie. Unbending in her stance of treating the students like criminals, Mara decides to fire Elias for his constant interference. After the argument, teacher Elvira confides in Elias that she also disagrees with the abuse, but he shoots back that her opinion is useless if never spoken in public. After getting out of solitary, Paul and Manuel officially apologize in the cafeteria. During break, Manuel and Amaya, who are secretly dating, meet with the group to celebrate the plan's progress, even though Adele is terrified of it failing. Later, Leon's first music class affects Ina Copyright S, who feels a strange and familiar connection to the melody played. Far from there, frustrated and in the middle of a crisis of faith, Elias awaits his transfer to another monastery. However, Arturo, the head of the congregation, intervenes. Using his higher authority, he forces Mara to reinstate Elias and convinces the monk to stay at the school, reminding him that he's the only force capable of changing the system to protect the students. In the middle of the night, the foursome sneaks into the pantry to start the escape, which consists of a long walk to the bus stop on the main road. Manuel prepares a piece of meat stuffed with sedatives to put the guard dog to sleep. But as they open the window, the bait slips from his hands. Overcome by panic of being torn apart by the animal, Adele gives up and goes back to the dorm, forcing Paul to go with her to protect her. Meanwhile, Manuel and Amaya continue the escape on their own. They try to use a car to get away, but crash into the iron gate and break the vehicle. Almost at the same time, Mara notices the money missing from the safe, orders an immediate search, and discovers the group is gone, arriving in time to see them through the window, stealing a bike and fleeing into the forest. The initial success of the escape thrills the students watching from inside the institution. However, the bike breaks quickly, forcing the couple to continue on foot, knowing the teachers have already started searching. Along the way, they notice strange and inexplicable lights glowing in the forest, the same ones Ina Copyright S curiously watches from a school window. During their night run, Manuel falls down a steep slope and loses consciousness. Before Maya can climb down to help him, a macabre figure wearing a crow mask appears, picks up the unconscious boy, and carries him away. Terrified, Amaya runs until she reaches the main road and intercepts a car to ask for help. To her terrible luck, the occupants are Mara and Mario, who capture her and don't believe a single word about Manuel's kidnapping. Later, she is punished with solitary, where she discovers Paul was also locked up for taking part in the escape. The girl's only concern, however, is saving Manuel. The next day, Dareo, a board member and Ina Copyright S's father, arrives at the school. He scolds Mara and the teachers for their negligence, warning about the scandal if the parents find out about the disappearance. Although Elvira and Elias use the chance to criticize the institution's abusive discipline, Dareo defends the cruel methods as necessary preparation for the outside world. After being released and forced to apologize publicly, Amaya decides to contact the police. Knowing the school won't do anything, she breaks in and searches Ina Copyright S's locker for a cell phone, but finds nothing. Peaceful, Ina Copyright S refuses to rat out her classmate to avoid more trouble. While Paul helps her pick up her dropped books, he notices a disturbing drawing of a dead girl with no eyes, which she quickly hides. During break, Adele warns Paul that their uncle got permission from school for them to travel to Paris for his wedding. Seeing the trip as the perfect escape route, she begs her brother not to cause trouble. Later, Ina Copyright S goes through routine exams due to a past accident that caused amnesia. Her father, Dareo, closely follows the case, revealing to the doctor that he enrolled her in the isolated monastery precisely to force her to interact and treat her extreme introversion. Meanwhile, Paul and Amaya disguise themselves as janitors to use the kitchen phone. However, the exact moment the police pick up, the line goes dead, forcing them to abort the mission before getting caught. Meanwhile, Ina Copyright S gets the music record, played by Leon, and once again feels a deep and familiar connection to the melody. Shortly after, Amaya finds her, crying in the hallways but ignores her and walks away. The situation at school worsens when Mara finds the phone wire, cut and bans meals until the culprit confesses. Paul deduces that Adele sabotaged the line for fear that a police investigation would cancel the trip to Paris. He accuses her of being selfish for abandoning Manuel to his fate. During PE class, Ina Copyright S hears the same melody and realizes Leon is playing it on purpose to test her. He tries to earn her trust, asking for her opinion about the boarding school, but she remains withdrawn and defensive. Desperate, when she sees Dareo there, Amaya runs to him and begs him to report Manuel's disappearance. However, Mara steps in and, as punishment, confiscates her hearing aids, leaving her practically deaf. Back in the library, Amaya discovers Paul found an old manuscript describing bubonic plague doctors. They realize the chrome masks in the illustrations are identical to the figure that kidnapped Manuel, and that these individuals formed a secret faction based in a place called the Crow's Nest. When Ina Copyright S enters the room and looks in the mirror, she has a quick hallucination of these same masked figures, which vanish in the blink of an eye. Meanwhile, Doreo finally orders Mara to involve the police in the disappearance due to the time that has passed. And teacher Leon is seen looking up news about a missing girl in Lisbon. That same night, Alba sneaks out through the gate, lying to her uncle that she's going shopping for her mother. After her bike breaks down, she continues on foot through the forest. It turns out that Adele, feeling guilty over her brother's accusations, convinced the girl to go to town to report Manuel's disappearance. The plan falls apart when Celia notices she's gone and goes looking for her daughter. The students at the boarding school panic when they hear the woman's desperate screams. She finds Alba's body hanging in the forest. Eyeless, the tragedy shakes everyone, consuming Adele with guilt. The next day, Ina Copyright S. burns her disturbing drawing in secret, but is cornered by Paul and Amaya, who demand to know how she foresaw the murder in such detail. Ina Copyright S. denies remembering anything. Amaya drags her under the shower to force a confession, stopping only when other students barge into the bathroom. Trying to contain the widespread trauma, Elias gives a speech about death and controlling pain. The police soon arrive to question Adele due to her closeness to the victim, and she confesses to the smuggling ring, which is confirmed after Mara searches the dorms. Taking advantage of the police presence, Amaya tries to report Manuel's disappearance. To her utter frustration, the officer reveals the headmistress had already reported the case and shows a handwritten letter from the boy himself, claiming to be fine. Since he's of legal age, authorities can't force him to come back. Even though she recognizes his handwriting, Amaya is shocked and certain there's something dark behind the message. Terrified by the wave of deaths, Ina Copyright S. begs her father to take her back home. During the drive, she suffers macabre hallucinations of Alba's body scattered in the forest, which Doreo downplays as after effects of the accident. Arriving home, the girl opens her notebook and finds dozens of other drawings of the victim. Afraid of being framed if someone sees them, she burns every page. Amid her grief, Amaya confides in Paul about the handwriting on the letter. The suspicion brings up memories from a year ago when Manuel arrived at the school. Initially arrogant, he was quickly broken by the fear of brutal punishments and failed escape attempts. It was Paul who reached out and promised to help him escape for real after they came up with a plan. The connection between the two formed after Paul revealed the reasons for his enrollment. He was sent to the strict monastery as a family punishment for having broken into his uncle's lab to free animals used as test subjects for medication. Back in the present, Paz and Amaya spot a security flaw in the middle of the night. Only Elias, Elvira, and Leon had stayed in the building. After the three of them discuss Alba's death in the office, Leon leaves with the excuse of getting updates from the police, while Elias and Elvira leave to offer their condolences to the victim's father. With the school completely unsupervised, the girls wake up their classmates and throw a secret party in the basement. Far from there, at her house, Ina Copyright S. wakes up startled by a storm and goes downstairs to ask her father to show her old photos of her late mother, hoping to get her memories back. Doreo refuses, claiming he still doesn't know how to deal with the loss, and she goes back to her room, hurt. Shortly after, Doreo hears strange noises and grabs his shotgun. The intruder is Leon, who broke into the place specifically to talk to Ina Copyright S., away from the school's influence. Running into the armed father, the teacher jumps out the window to escape, but gets hit in his side by 2 shots. During the party, Amaya is the only one who sees 2 mysterious little girls running by before vanishing. At the same time, Adele, who had stayed in the dorm, wakes up annoyed by the mess, but soon notices the teachers are back and runs to warn her classmates. While fleeing, Paul, Adele, and Amaya hide in a side room and discover a painting from the 10th century. The artwork depicts dead children in the forest in the exact same state as Alba, surrounded by figures in crow masks. The image reminds Amaya of Manuel's letter. By decoding the first letters of each sentence, they find an indirect cry for help, confirming the message was written under duress. Leon takes the bullets out of his own body. Meanwhile, Mara punishes all the students, forcing them to stand outside in the storm for hours. Exhausted from the punishment, Adele gives in and snitches that the party was Amaya's idea. Although the other students deny everything to protect her, Adele is alienated and isolated by everyone. Later, the school's baker is arrested for Alba's death after his record is uncovered. But the students remain convinced of his innocence. At the same time, Mara tries to fire Elvira for abandoning her post during the night, but is forced to back down when the teacher threatens to expose the institution's bizarre events. Amaya shares the painting discovery with her friends Paz, Eric, and Julio. Ina Copyright S, who just got back to school, asks the doctor for a session to retrieve her lost memories. During the process, she has clear visions of Alba's murder in the forest, but chooses to stay quiet and receives new, strong medication to help with the treatment. Suffering constant bullying and isolation, Adele pulls away for good. The foursome of students returns to the painting, room looking for new clues, but finds the place completely empty. At that moment, a glass jar containing human eyes is thrown at them, a clear threat from Alba's real killer. Terrified, they run away to the church. Meanwhile, the new pills start causing severe hallucinations for Ina Copyright S. Putting the pieces of the mystery together, Paul and Amaya analyze an old folk song Alba used to sing. The lyrics talk about crows summoning the devil to take souls to the crow's nest. It indicates the macabre hideout is hidden inside the school itself, pointing straight to the monastery facilities. The next day, Amaya steals and hides the access key to the monastery. Meanwhile, Ina Copyright S's hallucinations worsen, and she starts seeing the same ghostly little girl Amaya saw in the basement. Tired of the contempt of her classmates, Adele seeks acceptance in a new group and teams up with the cruel and selfish Rita, ignoring Paul's warnings about the girl's bad character. Adele confesses to her new friend her hurt and jealousy over her brother's preference for Amaya. Taking advantage of her fragility, Rita decides to pick a fight and plot revenge against Amaya. In another wing, Ina Copyright S's condition deteriorates drastically because of the meds, and she ends up wandering unconsciously into Leon's room, fearing someone might see her. In that state, the teacher locks her in the room to protect her until she regains consciousness. Waking up and not understanding his attitude, she panics, steals the key, and runs away. That night, Paul and Amaya decide to sneak out to search the monastery before the meeting. However, she is dragged into an isolated room, beaten, and has her hearing aid crushed. A cruel attack planned by Rita and her friends. Unaware of what happened, Paul waits in vain and decides to go alone. Using the stolen key, he gets in through the back door of the monastery, but is spotted by one of the monks. Trying to escape through a window, he falls and loses consciousness. Meanwhile, feeling something is wrong, Ina Copyright S finds the injured Amaya and runs to help her. During the rescue, the same mysterious little girl appears again, and to the shock of Ina Copyright S, who thought she was the only one hallucinating, both can clearly see the ghost. The next day, teacher Elvira talks with Arturo, the head of the monastery, who supervises her doctorate. She seeks a scientific and logical explanation for the events in the forest. But Arturo warns that the human mind and science can't explain everything. Paul regains consciousness and, determined, goes back to search the monastery. To avoid being seen by the monks, he hides under a bed, accidentally ending up in Elias's room. There he finds a box containing a crow mask and a blue chain. Stunned, he heads back to the school and tells Amaya everything. Together, they conclude that Elias is behind Manuel's kidnapping and that the monks make up the Crow's Nest faction, which kidnaps and kills students. In another routine checkup, Ina Copyright S lies, denying any effect of the medication or memory return. As she leaves, she hears the same song playing and catches Leon playing it on purpose to draw her in. He asks her to try playing the instrument, claiming he doesn't want to hurt her. Tense, Ina Copyright S threatens him, promising to report him to her father and headmistress Mara if he comes near her again. At night, Paul and Amaya break into the teacher's lounge, looking for clues and hide under the table. When Elias walks in carrying the mysterious box, they follow him and see him lock it in the library. With no access to the place, they keep tracking him and catch him heading into the forest through a secret door. The monk enters a strange structure and soon returns to the monastery. Believing Manuel is being held hostage there, the two break into the room and make a horrifying discovery. The body of Yolanda, a former student, buried face down inside a macabre box. Terrified, they run back to the school. Meanwhile, Mara and Doreo argue. The headmistress discovers he embezzled funds from the school budget to buy expensive medical equipment for Ina Copyright S's treatment, scolding him for turning the school into a private center for his daughter. Later, Leon slips a note into Ina Copyright S's hands, setting up a meeting in front of the school building. After that, Paul and Amaya question a classmate who knew Yolanda and find out that the dead student's behavior was strange and feared by everyone, until the day she vanished and was presumed dead with no further explanation. Meanwhile, Mario spots his missing watch in Rita's locker and, as punishment for theft, shaves her head completely. The act was a setup orchestrated by Paul to avenge the brutal attack she had carried out against Amaya. He fixes her broken hearing aids, showing his unrequited love, since he's afraid to confess his feelings due to her relationship with Manuel. Meanwhile, Rita demands the ultimate proof of loyalty from Adele. She hands her a photo of Paul and tells her to burn it. Shaken and unable to betray her brother, she refuses to follow the order. Later, Paz finds a picture of Manuel and Amaya in the school storage room. The two decide to search the pantry for clues and discover that there's a box of belongings stored for every student who leaves the institution. Inside Yolanda's box, they find a letter where the former student reports frequent seizures followed by amnesia, besides complaining that the teachers forbade her from sleeping in the dorm on her last day. The letter mentions her blue chain, the same one, found in Elias's room, proving the monk's box belonged to her. The description of the symptoms terrifies Eric, who recently started suffering from the same seizures. In the dorm, Adele is rejected and blocked from entering by Rita's group. Isolated, she goes to the bathroom and acts out destructively, which she always does in moments of stress. Meanwhile, Elvira talks to Arturo and finds out Elias has vast experience with exorcisms. Later, Paul and Amaya find Yolanda's box in the library and read the rest of her notes. Yolanda believed she was possessed by an evil spirit and sought out the monastery looking for an exorcism from Elias, the only one she trusted. The duo realizes the monks aren't part of the crow's nest, but are actually fighting the evil forces terrorizing the place. At night, Elvira confronts Elias about his past as an exorcist. He confesses that Yolanda died inexplicably in the middle of the session, which made him give up the practice. The monk reveals that her same symptoms are showing up in other students, like in Eric's case, and believes something supernatural in the school is affecting them. Meanwhile, Ina Copyright S meets Leon in front of the building as agreed. But when she finds out he wants her to get in the car, she refuses to go and is suddenly knocked down by the teacher, who throws her in the vehicle and disappears into the forest. Reading an old manuscript about the Black Plague, Paul and Amaya discover the origin of the faction. During the disease's spread across Europe, which killed over 50 million people, a local group made a pact with the devil, offering human sacrifices in exchange for immunity. They called themselves the Crow's Nest and used the mark of the mask. The Pope sent the monk Father Malik to wipe them out and break the pact, freeing the forest from evil. Though he believed he had exterminated them, the group survived by building a secret ritual base under the monastery. The reading is interrupted when someone tries to kill them by knocking boxes over them in the library, making it clear their investigation is bothering the real killer. In the forest, Ina Copyright S wakes up wearing a dress while Leon lights a bonfire. Taking advantage of the distraction, she runs away. He chases her, but she hits him and manages to knock him down. A flashback reveals Ina Copyright S and Leon had an intense relationship in the past. He gave her the chain, and the two shared a passion for the piano. After she mysteriously vanished, he looked for her until he found her with no memories in a hospital. His efforts to rescue her were stopped by the place's security. Back in the present, Adele tries to prove her loyalty to Rita by burning her brother's photo, but the girl demands an even bigger proof of betrayal. Ina Copyright S manages to run from the forest to her house safely. From the school window, Amaya has a vision where her reflection merges with Ina Copyright S's image, showing a magical and disturbing connection between them. During the break, Paul catches his sister destroying a teacher's aquarium to please Rita. When Mario and the aquarium's owner show up, he takes the blame to protect Adele and is punished with solitary. The next day, Mara goes to Dareo's house looking for Ina Copyright S and is relieved to find her, but scolds her for leaving the school without notice. Ina Copyright S refuses to explain how she bypassed security. At the boarding school, Eric suffers his second seizure and, upon regaining consciousness, finds himself on the edge of the school wall. About to jump, teachers and students try to calm him down, but it's Elias who pulls him back. With no memory of how he got there, the boy is taken to the doctor, who orders a CT scan and lowers his medication dose. Investigating the case, Elias finds out the boy was diagnosed with ADHD. The monk pulls the files and confirms Yolanda also suffered from the same disorder and took the same medication, indicating a strong link between the medicine and the student's outbreaks. Meanwhile, Amaya finds out from the manuscript that the strange lights in the garden signal that the crow's nest is getting ready for a new sacrifice. She goes to solitary and tells Paul everything through a crack, connecting the lights in the forest to Alba's death. Paul examines the file and discovers a hidden compartment under the faction symbol. The secret message reveals the entrance to the group's headquarters is in the school cafeteria. Using their classmate Julio, who is about to be released, Paul sends the message to Amaya, who manages to locate the secret entrance but can't figure out how to open it. In the early morning hours, Ina Copyright S and Amaya are tormented by the same mysterious girl. Amaya is finally convinced Ina Copyright S isn't lying about her visions and that there's a dark reason why only the two of them can see the spirit. A flashback shows that after Manuel's kidnapping, he was locked in a small, empty cell, deprived of food and water. Days later, his captors sent food through the ceiling with one condition. They wrote a letter reassuring his family. Terrified and starving, he agreed, but hid the cry for help in the text. More days go by, and overcome by despair, he tries to give up. In the present, Paul is released from solitary. Meanwhile, Elias calls Eric's parents and finds out they didn't sign any consent form for their son's psychiatric treatment. He concludes the school is drugging the students secretly and shares his suspicion with Elvira. The connection between them grows stronger, but they are caught by another teacher. Back at the school, Ina Copyright S perfectly plays a piece on the piano, leaving her classmates enchanted. Dareo arrives and is shocked by the scene. She confronts him for hiding her skill and demands a new session with the doctor to force her memories to return. This time, she sees the ghost accuse her of being the cause of her death. Ina Copyright S has a severe seizure, needing to be held down by her father and the doctor. Far from there, the foursome of students returns to the cafeteria, lifts a floor tile, and finds an iron door they can't open. In captivity, Manuel wakes up tied to the bed and finds out his wound was stitched up. When untied later, he breaks a bathroom pipe in an attempt to widen the opening and escape. Outside, Elias finally unravels the scheme. A private lab funds the school in exchange for using the troubled students as guinea pigs to test experimental ADHD meds, all without the family's knowledge. The police arrive at Alba's family's house to let them know the baker was released due to lack of evidence. Her grandmother approaches, says she always knew he was innocent, and blames the crow's nest for her granddaughter's death. The elderly woman's children apologize to the officer, citing senility, and take her back inside. But she manages to slip something into his hand, a small stone with the crow's nest symbol. At the school, Mara hands Adele a ticket for her uncle's wedding in Paris, but forbids Paul from going due to his disciplinary record. Instead, she allows Adele to take someone else. The girl chooses Rita, who celebrates the perfect chance for them to escape together. In the hallway, Leon intercepts Ina Copyright S, covering her mouth so she won't scream. He just wants to ask if her memories came back, but she gets angry and orders him to stay away. The encounter is accidentally witnessed by Mara. Investigating the stone's symbol, the officer finds it carved into trees in the forest. Following the marks, he and his partner find a t-shirt thrown in the river. Unbeknownst to them, the shirt belongs to Manuel, who lost it when it slipped through the captivity's sewer outlet and reached the riverbed. Meanwhile, Ina Copyright S steals her father's car keys and, taking advantage of his distraction, accesses the dashboard computer to look up her own name. She finds a news article reporting that Ina Copyright S, daughter of neuroscientist Dareo, died in an accident in Lisbon along with her mother. Meanwhile, Leon is surprised by Dareo breaking into his room. Because Mara caught them, he discovers the teacher broke an old agreement not to pursue the girl and fires him immediately. Paul's group returns to the cafeteria, now with Julio, who knows how to build a bomb to blow up the secret iron door. During the preparation of the explosive, he has a seizure. He is taken to the doctor, and Elias confirms the young man takes the same suspicious medication. Sure of the criminal scheme, the monk barges into Mara's office. He reveals he found out about the illegal partnership with the lab and threatens to go to the police as soon as he gets physical evidence, leaving the headmistress in a panic. In captivity, Manuel hears gunshots and realizes the police have arrived and are chasing the person responsible for lowering his food. In a moment of pure adrenaline, he uses the cage's chain to try to climb through the ceiling, but gets shot and falls into the river's current. At the school, Paul says goodbye to Adele, begging her to never return to that place. Mara takes her and Rita to the bus stop, but the road is blocked because a body was found on the highway. Faced with panic, Adele rethinks running away and decides to go back so she won't abandon her brother. Rita tries to convince her otherwise, but Adele refuses and starts walking back through the forest. At the boarding school, Elias confronts Elvira after finding out the same underground lab also funds her doctorate, accusing her of being an accomplice to the atrocities. She tries to claim ignorance about the real danger imposed on the students, but a devastated Elias doesn't believe her. Desperate for answers, Ina Copyright S looks for Leon and begs him to tell the truth about her past, asking if she is really Ina Copyright S or if the real girl died in the crash. Afraid of the consequences, Leon stays silent. The police announce that the body found on the road likely belongs to the owner of the t-shirt rescued from the river. The students recognize the clothing as Manuel's and assume he is dead. At the window, Ina Copyright S watches the mysterious lights turn on in the forest, signaling that the faction has chosen a new victim. Her premonition comes true when, walking through the dark forest, Adele bumps into one of the masked members of the crow's nest. The next day, Luis is walking through the forest and finds Adele's bag thrown on the ground, picking it up without knowing whose it is. At the monastery, Arturo confronts Elias after discovering the monk's romantic involvement with teacher Elvira. As punishment for breaking the rules, he is transferred and sentenced to a year of isolation and silence. Overcome with guilt, but determined to expose the school's corruption before leaving, he gives an emotional farewell speech. The monk encourages the students to ignore the teacher's lies that they have no value and to never give up. Meanwhile, Elvira tries to send a note to Elias to set up a meeting and handover the evidence of the lab's crimes, but Mara intercepts the message meant for the monk. Upon reading the message, he interrupts his class and heads to the meeting. The headmistress locks Elvira in her room and goes to the meeting point at the monastery in her place. She tries to convince Elias to forget what he found out and start a new life with the teacher. But the monk refuses to turn his back on the students. Without hesitating, Mara pushes him off the top of the building, and he falls to his death. When Elvira finally manages to break down the door to her own room and arrives with the evidence, she finds Elias's body and breaks down in despair. At the same time, Ina Copyright S finds a flash drive in Dareo's office with a silent video of her in the hospital. With Amaya's help to read lips, they find out she was blaming someone for abandoning her. They also notice the crow's nest symbol in the background of the recording. Amaya uses the moment to reveal everything she knows to her friend. The news of Elias's death spreads, devastating the students and sparking a violent rebellion with destruction all over the school. Mara fakes mourning in front of the teachers, classifying the death as a suicide, and is already planning to steal the evidence from Elvira. Seeing Luis with Adele's bag, Paul panics, deducing that his sister gave up running away to Paris because of him. Amid the chaos of the rebellion, Paul, Amaya, and Ina Copyright S come up with a rescue plan. They head back to the kitchen, and Ina Copyright S deduces the secret iron door will only open with the correct sheet music melody. She runs to the music room, letting Paz, Eric, and Julio know on the way to help the others of the passage. While guards and dogs arrive to contain the riot, Ina Copyright S plays the music, and the door opens on its own. The students run down the stairs, but Julio stays behind on purpose to cover up the entrance and protect them. With the rebellion contained, Mara forces the students to clean up the destruction. Underground, Paul's group moves forward through the hallways, passing by the secret faction's bizarre headquarters, but they decide to ignore it to focus on the exit to the forest to look for Adele. At the police station, the medical examiner informs the police that the body found in the river isn't Manuel, but someone who was shot dead before falling into the water. In the forest, the students finally manage to get out of the cave, but are quickly intercepted and caught by Mara and Mario in a car. During the forced drive back to the boarding school, they spot Adele in the middle of the road. They pull over. The girl reveals she had been kidnapped, but managed to escape with Manuel's help, confirming their friend is alive. The group's excitement, however, is overshadowed when Adele warns them she found a new body in the forest. And they all discover in horror that it's Rita.